From the outside, everyone thought Olivia Thornton had it all. The towering glass building in downtown with her company's name proudly displayed at the top. The designer clothes that probably cost more than what most people made in a month. The cold, perfect smile that appeared in business magazines but never quite reached her eyes. As CEO of Thornton Media Solutions, one of the city's most prestigious marketing firms, Olivia had built her empire through sheer determination and an uncompromising approach to excellence. She demanded perfection from herself and expected nothing less from everyone around her. The problem was, almost no one could meet her impossible standards. Mei Lin knew this better than anyone. For the past 6 months, she had served as Olivia's personal assistant, a role that had chewed up and spit out 4 other assistants in the previous year alone. Each morning, Mei arrived at the office 30 minutes before her boss, preparing everything exactly how Olivia liked it. The temperature of her office set to precisely 72 degrees, her special imported tea steeped for exactly 4 minutes, and the day's schedule printed on cream-colored paper with all potential problems already solved. "Good morning, Ms. Thornton," Mei said as Olivia strode into the office, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. Without looking up from her phone, Olivia handed Mei her designer coat and purse. "The Henderson presentation needs to be completely redone," she said, still not making eye contact. "The graphics are amateur, and the copy reads like it was written by a high school student." Mei's stomach dropped. She had stayed until midnight working on that presentation with the creative team. "I'll speak with the team right away and have a revised version on your desk by noon." "Make it 11, Olivia said, finally glancing up with those ice-blue eyes that seemed to see every flaw. "And tell Richard his concept for the airline campaign is boring. We need something that actually makes people want to travel, not fall asleep." "Yes, Miss Thornton." This was how most mornings went. Mei would absorb the criticism, both for herself and as a shield for the rest of the staff, then spend the day running interference, putting out fires, and somehow making the impossible happen before deadline. She was good at her job, extremely good in fact, but in Olivia's world, good was merely the baseline expectation. Why did Mei stay? The question haunted her on the worst days, usually while she was eating dinner alone at her desk long after everyone else had gone home. The answer was waiting for her in the small apartment across town, where her parents now lived with her. Her father, once a strong and proud man who had moved their family to America for a better life, now spent his days in a wheelchair. After a stroke left him partially paralyzed. Her mother, who barely spoke English, devoted herself entirely to his care. Mei's salary at Thornton Media Solutions, generous by industry standards to compensate for working under the notorious Olivia, covered her father's medical bills, the rent on their apartment, and the occasional visit from a home health aide to give her mother a break. Mei couldn't afford to lose this job, and Olivia, whether she realized it or not, had her trapped in golden handcuffs. "The annual holiday party will be at my penthouse this year," Olivia announced during the executive meeting that afternoon. "I expect all department heads and senior staff to attend. It's important to show clients and board members that we're a unified team." The room filled with murmurs of agreement, though Mei noticed the panicked looks some exchanged. Olivia's home was as intimidating as she was, a showcase of wealth and taste that made people feel both impressed and uncomfortable. "Mei will coordinate the details," Olivia continued, turning her attention to her assistant. "I want everything perfect. The usual caterer is acceptable, but find a better bartender than last year, and make sure everyone understands this is mandatory." Mei nodded, already making notes in her tablet. Another project on top of her already impossible workload. She would make it happen, though. She always did. The night of the holiday party arrived 2 weeks later. Mei had been at Olivia's penthouse since early morning, directing caterers, approving the flower arrangements, and making sure everything was exactly as her boss had specified. The space was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered breathtaking views of the city skyline, now twinkling with lights as dusk settled. Modern art pieces worth small fortunes adorned the walls, and in the center of the main room stood a gleaming black grand piano. Mei had always wondered if Olivia actually played, or if the instrument was merely for show, like so many things in her boss's life. She had never seen Olivia go near it during the few work events held at the penthouse. As guests began to arrive, men in expensive suits, women in cocktail dresses that probably cost more than Mei's monthly rent, She slipped into professional mode, checking names off the list and directing people toward the bar and appetizers. Olivia made her entrance half an hour after the start time, wearing a stunning red dress that made her look both beautiful and somehow dangerous. "Is everything running smoothly?" Olivia asked, suddenly appearing at May's side. "Yes, Miss Thornton. The caterer has prepared all your favorite hors d'oeuvres. The bar is fully stocked, and the string quartet will begin playing at 8, just as you requested." Olivia nodded, her eyes scanning the room critically. "The lighting in the east corner is too harsh. Fix it." Without waiting for a response, she glided away to greet the company's biggest client. May sighed quietly and went to adjust the lighting. As she worked, she couldn't help glancing at the piano. It really was beautiful, with its sleek lines and perfectly polished surface. Before she could stop herself, May ran her fingers lightly over the keys, not pressing down enough to make a sound. "Do you play?" May jumped at the voice behind her. It was David from the creative department, one of the few people at the company who actually treated her like a human being, instead of just Olivia's shadow. "I used to," she admitted softly. "A long time ago. Any good?" he asked with a friendly smile. "I was once," May said, surprising herself with the honesty. "My parents sacrificed everything to pay for lessons when I was growing up. I even had a scholarship for music school, but then—" She trailed off, not wanting to share the painful memory of giving up her dream when her father got sick. How she had withdrawn from school before even starting, taking the first job she could find to help support her family. How she had barely touched a piano in the years since. "You should play something," David suggested. May laughed nervously. "I don't think that would be appropriate. Besides, I'm working. Working at a party? Come on, just one song. No one would mind." "Ms. Thornton would definitely mind," May said firmly, stepping away from the piano. "I should check on the caterers." As the evening progressed, May kept herself busy making sure glasses stayed filled and everyone's needs were met. The string quartet played softly in the background, adding an elegant atmosphere to the already impressive setting. Olivia seemed pleased, which was as close to happy as she ever got. During a brief lull, May found herself near the piano again, this time with a small group of co-workers who had had enough champagne to loosen their tongues. "I took lessons for years as a kid," Tom from accounting was saying. "My mother insisted. I hated every minute of it. I always wanted to learn," replied Zoe from the design team. "What about you, May? Ever play?" Before she could answer, Olivia appeared, champagne flute in hand. May hadn't realized her boss was within earshot. "I used to play," May admitted quietly. "It was a long time ago, though." Something changed in Olivia's expression. A slight narrowing of the eyes, a subtle curve of her lips that May had learned to recognize as dangerous. "How interesting," Olivia said, her voice carrying just enough to draw attention from nearby guests. "My assistant is apparently a pianist, and yet I'm only hearing about this now." May felt her cheeks grow warm. "I wouldn't call myself a pianist, Ms. Thornton. It was just childhood lessons." "Don't be modest," Olivia said, though her tone suggested she didn't believe there was anything to be modest about. She turned to address the growing circle of onlookers. "Ladies and gentlemen, it seems we have an undiscovered talent in our midst. May has been hiding her musical abilities from us." The room began to quiet as more people tuned into the conversation. May's heart raced. She knew what was coming before Olivia even said it. "Perhaps you'd favor us with a demonstration." Olivia gestured toward the piano, her smile not reaching her eyes. "I insist. It wasn't a request." In Olivia's world, "I insist" meant do it or face consequences. May looked around at the curious faces of her co-workers, some showing interest, others uncomfortable at the obvious power play happening before them. No one would step in to help her. No one ever did when it came to Olivia. "I really haven't practiced in years," May said, trying to keep her voice steady. "All the more impressive if you can still play well, then," Olivia replied smoothly. She raised her voice slightly. "Everyone, my assistant May is going to entertain us with a piano performance." The room went completely silent. May felt dizzy as dozens of eyes turned toward her. This was Olivia's way of putting her in her place, of reminding everyone that May was just the help, there to serve and perform on command. It was humiliation disguised as an opportunity to shine. With legs that felt like lead, May walked to the piano. The magnificent instrument that had earlier filled her with appreciation now loomed before her like an instrument of torture. She sat down on the bench, her hands trembling slightly as she placed them on the cool keys. What happened next would change everything between them, though neither woman could possibly have imagined it in that moment. The silence in the room was deafening. May sat frozen at the piano bench, feeling the weight of every stare burning into her back. She could practically sense Olivia's satisfied smirk without even turning around. This was exactly what her boss wanted, to watch her fumble through a mediocre performance and remind everyone of their place in the hierarchy. The powerful CEO and her struggling assistant, a classic power play. May's fingers hovered over the keys. It had been nearly 7 years since she had seriously played. 7 years since she'd walked away from Berklee College of Music before even starting her first semester, trading her scholarship and dreams for a steady paycheck to support her family. The thought of her father's proud face when she'd been accepted still brought a lump to her throat. "We're all waiting," Olivia called out, her voice honey-sweet but laced with poison. A few uncomfortable chuckles rippled through the crowd. May closed her eyes. Her hands were trembling and she could feel sweat beginning to form on her forehead. "Play anything," she told herself. "Just get through it and this nightmare will be over." Her fingers touched the keys, testing their weight and resistance. This piano was magnificent. A Steinway Model D concert grand that probably cost more than what May would earn in 5 years. The kind of instrument she had only dreamed of playing during those years of lessons on their family's second-hand upright. Something stirred inside her at the touch of those perfect keys. A memory, a feeling long buried under spreadsheets and coffee orders and Olivia's constant criticism. Before she could second-guess herself, May began to play. The first few notes of Debussy's Clair de Lune filled the room, hesitant at first, like a person testing cold water with their toes. May had chosen it almost without thinking. It was the last piece she had mastered before everything changed, before bills and responsibility replaced sheet music and practice hours. A wrong note made her wince. Then another. Her fingers felt stiff, unpracticed. This was exactly what Olivia wanted, to watch her fail publicly. May nearly stopped, the humiliation almost too much to bear. But then she remembered her father's words from long ago. Music isn't about perfection. It's about feeling. Play with your heart, not just your hands. May took a deep breath and started again, this time abandoning herself to the music. Her fingers began to remember, muscle memory taking over where conscious thought failed. The gentle, flowing melody began to take shape, filling Olivia's sterile penthouse with something warm and alive. As she played, the years of absence from the piano seemed to melt away. Her body swayed slightly with the music. Her face relaxed, eyes still closed as she let the piece carry her. The rippling arpeggios in the middle section came more easily now, her fingers dancing across the keys with growing confidence. The room had gone completely still. No clinks of glasses, no whispered conversations. Only the music existed. When May reached the climax of the piece, she finally opened her eyes, surprised to find tears threatening. She had forgotten how it felt to lose herself in music like this, to speak through her fingers in a language more honest than words. The final delicate notes hung in the air like crystal before fading into silence. For one terrible moment, no one reacted. May's heart sank. Had she played that badly? Was everyone just embarrassed for her? Then applause erupted, genuine, enthusiastic applause. May turned on the bench to see her colleagues' faces transformed with surprise and appreciation. David from Creative was grinning widely. Even Thomas, the perpetually grumpy CFO, was nodding with approval. Only one face remained unreadable, Olivia's. Her boss stood perfectly still. Champagne glass paused halfway to her lips, blue eyes locked on May with an expression May couldn't decipher. It wasn't the smug satisfaction she had expected, but something else entirely. Something almost like shock? "That was beautiful," someone called out. "Play another," urged Zoe from design. Before May could respond, Olivia stepped forward, setting her glass down with a decisive click on a nearby table. "I believe May has duties to attend to," she said coolly. "The dessert course needs to be coordinated with the kitchen staff." Just like that, the spell was broken. May stood quickly from the bench, smoothing her simple black dress with damp palms. "Yes, Miss Thornton. Right away." As she hurried toward the kitchen, May could feel her boss's eyes following her. The brief moment of glory was over, replaced by the familiar weight of obligation. Yet something had shifted inside her. A door reopened to a part of herself she had locked away for too long. In the kitchen, away from prying eyes, May allowed herself a moment to breathe. Her hands were still trembling, but now from adrenaline rather than fear. She had survived Olivia's attempt to humiliate her and somehow, against all odds, turned it into something else entirely. The waitstaff needs direction on the dessert service, she told the catering manager, slipping back into her efficient assistant mode. Ms. Thornton wants the chocolate soufflés served precisely at 9:30. For the next hour, May kept herself busy, moving through the party like a shadow, ensuring everything ran smoothly. She avoided the piano area entirely, though she noticed several guests lingering near it, perhaps hoping for another performance. More surprisingly, she noticed Olivia avoiding it too. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, May maintained her professional demeanor, thanking people for coming and arranging for cars as needed. She was exhausted but proud that she had made it through the night with her dignity intact. The last guest departed shortly after midnight. The catering staff was packing up the remaining food and equipment, working quietly and efficiently. May checked each room, making notes of anything that would need special cleaning attention tomorrow. She hadn't seen Olivia for at least 30 minutes and assumed her boss had retreated to her private quarters of the penthouse, as she often did when hosting events. May was just instructing the cleaning service about a spilled drink on one of the expensive rugs when a voice behind her made her jump. "My office, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock sharp." May turned to find Olivia standing there, her face unreadable. Without waiting for a response, the CEO turned and walked away, disappearing down the hallway that led to her private rooms. A knot formed in May's stomach. Was she about to be fired? Had her unexpected success at the piano somehow threatened Olivia? It wouldn't be the first time her boss had eliminated someone who had outshined her, even momentarily. The ride home in the company car was tense, May's mind racing with possibilities, none of them good. By the time she quietly entered her family's modest apartment, it was nearly 2 a.m. "You're home late?" her mother said softly in Mandarin from the small living room, where she sat knitting under a single lamp. Though elderly, Liu Chen rarely slept until her daughter was safely home. "The party ran long," May replied in the same language, setting down her bag and slipping off her uncomfortable shoes. "How's Dad?" "Sleeping well tonight. The new medication seems to help with the pain." Her mother studied her face carefully. "Something happened. I can see it in your eyes." May hesitated, then sat beside her mother on the worn sofa. "I played piano tonight." Her mother's hand stilled, the knitting needles falling silent. "After all this time? It wasn't my choice. My boss, she tried to embarrass me by making me perform." "And did you embarrass yourself?" May thought about the applause, the surprised faces, the feeling that had awakened inside her as her fingers remembered their purpose. "No, actually, I played well. Better than I expected after so long." Her mother's weathered hand reached out to cover hers. "Your father always said your music would find its way back to you someday." "It doesn't matter. It was just one night, one song." May sighed, leaning back against the sofa cushions. "And I might lose my job tomorrow because of it." "Why would you lose your job for playing beautifully?" May tried to explain Olivia Thornton to her mother, how threatened she felt by anyone else's success, how she seemed to feed on maintaining her position of power. But the concepts didn't translate well, either linguistically or culturally. In her mother's world, talent was something to be celebrated, not punished. "Your boss sounds like an unhappy person," was all her mother said finally. "People who cannot find joy in others' gifts usually have few gifts of their own." May didn't sleep well that night. She kept replaying the moment at the piano, wondering if there was something she could have done differently. Should she have played poorly on purpose? Should she have refused entirely and risked her job on the spot? By morning, she had resolved to face whatever came with dignity. If Olivia fired her, she would find another position. It would be difficult, and their finances would suffer in the interim, but they had weathered hard times before. She dressed carefully in one of her better work outfits, a navy blue skirt suit she reserved for important meetings. Her father was awake when she came out to the kitchen, seated in his wheelchair by the small table. "My little songbird," he said in Mandarin, his speech slightly slurred from the stroke but his eyes bright with affection. "Your mother told me you played again." May leaned down to kiss his cheek. "Just once, Baba." "Once is enough to remember who you are," he replied, patting her hand with his good one. The other lay curled and useless in his lap. "Don't let anyone take that away from you again." His words followed her all the way to Thornton Tower, giving her strength as she rode the elevator to the executive floor. The office was empty at this early hour, the lights still dimmed to their overnight setting. May walked through the silent space to Olivia's corner office and knocked softly on the door. "Enter." Taking a deep breath, May pushed open the door, prepared for the worst. Olivia sat behind her massive glass desk, backlit by the morning sun streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The effect was surely intentional. May had to squint slightly to see her boss's face, putting her at an immediate disadvantage. The office was immaculate as always, with not a single paper out of place. The only unusual element was a steaming cup of coffee on the side of the desk opposite Olivia, the side where visitors sat. "Sit down," Olivia said, her tone giving away nothing. May perched on the edge of the chair, back straight, hands folded in her lap. She waited for the axe to fall, for Olivia to tell her that she had embarrassed the company, or that she wasn't a good fit for the culture, or any of the other excuses she had heard her boss use when firing people. Instead, Olivia pushed the coffee cup toward her. "I had this brought in from that place you like on 5th Street. The one with the ridiculous name." "Beans and Dreams," May said automatically, surprised that Olivia had noticed her occasional morning indulgence. "Thank you." An uncomfortable silence stretched between them. May took a small sip of the coffee to have something to do. It was exactly how she liked it. 1 sugar, light cream. "You lied on your application," Olivia finally said. May nearly choked on her coffee. "Excuse me?" "Your employment application. Under special skills, you listed basic things like proficiency in Microsoft Office and fluency in Mandarin. You made no mention of being a concert-level pianist. I didn't think it was relevant to the position," May said carefully. "Relevance isn't the point. Thoroughness is." Olivia leaned forward slightly. "I don't like surprises, May. I especially don't like being surprised in front of my entire company and our most important clients." "I apologize if I caused any embarrassment," May said, though she wasn't sure what she was apologizing for. Playing poorly would have been embarrassing. Playing well had been unexpected. "Where did you learn to play like that?" Olivia asked abruptly. The question caught May off guard. "I started lessons when I was 5. My parents, they sacrificed a lot to pay for them. I practiced several hours every day until I was 18. And then?" May hesitated, unsure how much personal information to share. But something in Olivia's focused gaze told her this was important. "Then my father had a stroke. Medical bills piled up. I had a scholarship to Berklee College of Music, but I turned it down to work and support my family." "Berklee," Olivia repeated, a strange expression crossing her face. "Full scholarship?" "Yes." Olivia stood suddenly and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. Her reflection in the glass was pensive, almost troubled. "I attended Juilliard. Piano performance." The revelation stunned May into silence. She tried to picture her ruthless boss as a music student, those perfectly manicured hands that now signed million-dollar contracts, once practicing scales and sonatas. "I was good," Olivia continued, still facing the window. "Not exceptional, but good enough to get in, good enough to imagine a future on stage. Then in my 3rd year I developed tendinitis, played through the pain until I physically couldn't anymore. The doctor said I could recover with rest, but I pushed too hard too soon." She flexed her right hand as if remembering. "By graduation I knew a performance career was impossible." She turned back to face May. "So I reinvented myself. Got an MBA, started at the bottom of an ad agency and worked my way up, eventually founded this company." May wasn't sure what to say. This was the most personal conversation she'd ever had with Olivia, the most personal conversation anyone at the company had ever had with her, as far as May knew. "I haven't touched a piano in nearly 15 years, Olivia said. "The one in my apartment is purely decorative, a reminder of a different life." "I'm sorry," May said softly. "I don't want your pity," Olivia snapped, a flash of her usual sharpness returning. "I'm telling you this because—" She seemed to struggle with what came next. "Because I owe you an explanation for last night." May waited, hardly daring to breathe. "I didn't ask you to play to humiliate you," Olivia said finally. "I asked because I was curious. Your personnel file says you majored in business administration at a community college. Nothing about music school or piano. When I overheard you say you used to play, I wanted to see if you were any good. And? May couldn't stop herself from asking. A hint of a smile touched Olivia's lips. You're better than good, May. You're extraordinary. That Debussy piece, I've heard it performed by professionals who didn't play it with half the feeling you did. After 7 years without practice? It's remarkable. The compliment was so unexpected that May didn't know how to respond. In 6 months, she had never heard Olivia praise anyone so genuinely. Which brings me to why I called you here. Olivia returned to her desk and sat down. I'm promoting you. Promoting me? Mai echoed, certain she had misheard. To Director of Client Relations. The position has been open since Anthony left. Your salary will increase by 40% and you'll have your own office, the one next to marketing. May's mind raced to catch up. But I don't understand. What does my playing piano have to do with a promotion? Olivia leaned back in her chair, studying May with new interest. It has everything to do with it. Last night I watched you take a situation designed to make you fail and turn it into a triumph. I watched you connect with a room full of jaded executives and move them to genuine emotion. And I watched you do it with grace under extreme pressure. She tapped her fingers on the desk. Those are exactly the qualities I need in someone who will be the face of this company to our most important clients. May's head was spinning. This is a lot to process. Take the day to think about it if you need to. The position is yours if you want it. A promotion meant more money for her family, better healthcare coverage for her father, maybe even enough to hire regular help for her mother. But it also meant more responsibility, more pressure, more of her life consumed by work. What about your new assistant? May asked. Who would replace me? I'll find someone. They won't be as good as you, of course, but that's my problem. Olivia stood, indicating the meeting was coming to an end. One more thing. The grand piano in the executive lounge on the 20th floor. It hasn't been played in years. I had it tuned this morning. It's at your disposal whenever you wish to use it. May stood as well, still trying to absorb everything that had happened. Thank you, Ms. Thornton. This is very generous. Olivia, her boss corrected. Directors call me Olivia. May nodded, a smile beginning to form. Thank you, Olivia. As she turned to leave, Olivia called after her. May, I'd like to hear you play again sometime. When you've had a chance to practice. Perhaps something more challenging than Debussy. I'd like that, May replied, surprised to find she meant it. The office was coming to life as May walked back to her desk. Other employees arriving for the day. The usual hum of conversation and ringing phones filling the air. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. Her desk, with its familiar stack of papers and precisely arranged office supplies, seemed somehow smaller, as if she had outgrown it overnight. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. How did it go? Do you still have a job? May smiled as she typed her reply. Better than expected? Tell you tonight. She put her phone away and turned on her computer, already making mental lists of everything she needed to handle today. Yet beneath the familiar routine, something else was stirring, a sense of possibility she hadn't felt in years. During her lunch break, May slipped away to the 20th floor. The executive lounge was empty, as it usually was at this hour. The grand piano sat in the corner by the windows, its polished surface gleaming in the sunlight. She approached it slowly, almost reverently, running her fingers lightly over the fallboard before lifting it to reveal the keys. Just one quick piece, she told herself. 5 minutes, that's all. She sat down on the bench, adjusted its height, and placed her hands on the keys. This time there was no hesitation, no fear, just the pure joy of reconnecting with a part of herself she had thought was lost forever. Her fingers found the opening notes of Chopin's Fantasy Impromptu, a challenging piece she had mastered just before leaving music behind. As she played, the familiar rush of emotion washed over her, but this time it wasn't tinged with sadness or regret. This time it felt like coming home. She was so absorbed in the music that she didn't notice the small audience that had gathered at the lounge entrance, curious executives drawn by the unexpected sound. Among them stood Olivia, arms crossed, an unreadable expression on her face as she watched her former assistant and new director of client relations lose herself in the music. When May finished playing, she was startled by the sound of applause. She turned to see her impromptu audience and felt a momentary flash of embarrassment, followed by something else. Pride. She had spent too many years hiding this part of herself. As the small crowd dispersed, Olivia remained, walking slowly toward the piano. For once, her expression was completely transparent, a mixture of admiration and something that looked almost like envy. "Chopin suits you," she said simply. "Thank you," May replied. "It feels good to play again." Olivia nodded, a hint of melancholy in her eyes. "Don't ever stop." "Not for anyone or anything." She turned to leave, then paused. "The Anderson presentation is at 2. As our new director of client relations, I expect you'll want to attend." "I'll be there," May promised. As Olivia walked away, May gently closed the piano and stood. Two worlds that had seemed irreconcilable were beginning to merge. The responsible daughter who had sacrificed her dreams for her family, and the musician whose soul came alive at the keyboard. Maybe, just maybe, there was room in her life for both. With renewed purpose, she headed back to her desk to prepare for her first client meeting in her new role. The future suddenly held possibilities she had never dared to imagine. 3 months into her new role as Director of Client Relations, May found herself thriving in ways she never expected. The promotion had changed everything, not just her bank account, but her confidence, her sense of purpose, and even her relationship with Olivia. Today, she stood beside her boss in the conference room, watching as the creative team presented their pitch for a major airline campaign. Olivia still had her famously high standards, but the terror she once inspired had been replaced by something closer to respect. People worked hard to please her, not out of fear, but because they wanted to meet the bar she set. "The tagline needs work," Olivia said when the presentation concluded. "It's forgettable. People won't connect with it emotionally." She turned to May. "What do you think?" This was new too, Olivia actually asking for her opinion in front of others. "I agree about the tagline," May said. "But the visual concept is strong. The imagery of families reuniting at airports captures exactly what our research showed matters most to travelers." Olivia nodded. "Revise the copy, keep the visuals. I want to see 3 new options for the tagline by tomorrow afternoon." The team looked relieved. 3 months ago, they might have been sent back to the drawing board entirely. As everyone filed out of the conference room, May gathered her notes, feeling a sense of satisfaction. The work was challenging, but in all the right ways. "You've got the Anderson meeting at 2, Olivia reminded her as they walked back toward their offices. "They're still hesitant about renewing their contract." "I know. I've been preparing all week." May checked her watch. "I was hoping to squeeze in 30 minutes at the piano before then, actually. To clear my head." A small smile touched Olivia's lips. "Good idea. I've noticed you play better on days when we close deals." It had become something of a routine, May playing the grand piano in the executive lounge during lunch breaks or after hours. Sometimes she played alone, but often, employees would gather to listen, bringing their lunches or coffee cups, creating an informal concert series that had become unexpectedly popular. Olivia never joined these impromptu audiences. She would occasionally pass by, pausing in the doorway for a moment before continuing on her way. But May knew she listened. More than once she had referenced a piece May had played, offering a subtle compliment or observation that revealed her musical knowledge. The executive lounge was empty when May arrived, sunlight streaming through the windows to illuminate the piano in a warm glow. She sat down, took a deep breath, and began to play Beethoven's Pathétique Sonata, a piece she had been practicing at home on the digital piano she had recently been able to afford. As the powerful chords filled the room, May felt the familiar sense of release. Here, she didn't have to think about client metrics or presentation slides or profit margins. Here, there was only the music, the emotion, the conversation between her fingers and the keys. She was so absorbed that she didn't notice Olivia enter until she had finished the first movement. The sound of a single person clapping startled her. "Powerful choice," Olivia said, walking toward the piano. "Beethoven for a big meeting day?" May smiled. "I need the confidence boost. The Andersons are tough clients they'll sign. You've put together an excellent proposal." Olivia hesitated, then added, "May I sit?" "Of course." May moved over on the bench, surprised. In all these months, Olivia had never come this close to the piano when May was playing. "The second movement is my favorite," Olivia said quietly. "The Adagio cantabile. So simple, yet so moving. Would you like to hear it?" Olivia nodded, her usual composure replaced by something more vulnerable. May began to play the second movement, the gentle, song-like melody floating in the air between them. It was a stark contrast to the dramatic first movement, intimate, tender, almost like a lullaby. As she played, she was acutely aware of Olivia beside her, watching her hands move across the keys. When she finished, neither spoke for a moment. "Your technique has improved," Olivia finally said. "You've been practicing at home?" "Yes, I bought a digital piano. Nothing like this, of course, but good enough to keep my fingers nimble." Olivia nodded, then surprised May by placing her own hands on the keys. "I used to play this piece for recitals. Would you like to try it now?" May asked gently. A shadow crossed Olivia's face. "I haven't played in 15 years. Just a few notes. The muscle memory might still be there." Slowly, hesitantly, Olivia positioned her fingers over the keys. She pressed down, playing the opening phrase of the second movement. The notes came out tentative, imperfect, but recognizable. "See? You remember," May encouraged. Olivia played a few more measures, her face tight with concentration. Then she hit a wrong note and immediately pulled her hands away as if the keys had burned her. "That's enough," she said, standing abruptly. "You should prepare for your meeting. The Anderson account is worth 7 figures. Just like that, the wall was back up. May nodded, recognizing the retreat. "I'll let you know how it goes." Olivia paused at the door. "May, you were right. The muscle memory is still there. It's disorienting." Before May could respond, she was gone. The meeting with the Anderson team went better than expected. By the end of the 2 hours, not only had they renewed their contract, but they had increased their budget for the coming year. May returned to the office triumphant, receiving congratulations from colleagues who had learned of the deal's importance. She was updating Olivia on the details when her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Dad in hospital. Fell trying to get to bathroom. Come when you can." May's face must have changed visibly because Olivia stopped mid-sentence. "What is it?" "My father. He's in the hospital." May was already gathering her things. "I need to go, of course. Take the company car. And May, take whatever time you need. Your father comes first." The genuine concern in Olivia's voice was yet another change from the boss she had known 6 months ago. At the hospital, May found her father in the emergency room, looking small and frail against the white sheets. Her mother sat beside him, holding his good hand. "What happened?" May asked in Mandarin after hugging her mother. "He didn't want to wake me to help him to the bathroom," her mother explained wearily. "He tried to go himself and fell. The doctor thinks his hip might be fractured." May's heart sank. A hip fracture at her father's age with his already compromised health was serious. She spoke with the doctors, filled out paperwork, and sat with her parents through x-rays and consultations. The diagnosis was confirmed, a hip fracture that would require surgery. "He'll need physical therapy afterward," the doctor explained. "And round-the-clock care during recovery. Is there someone who can stay with him?" "I'll arrange everything," May promised, though her mind was already racing through the logistics. Her mother couldn't manage alone. Their apartment had stairs. Her new position at work demanded long hours. It was past midnight when she finally returned home, exhausted and worried. Her father would have surgery in the morning. She would need to be there, but she also had the quarterly presentation to the board. Somehow she had to make it all work. She was preparing for bed when her phone rang. It was Olivia. "How is your father?" her boss asked without preamble. "Fractured hip. Surgery tomorrow," May sighed. "I need to be there, but the board presentation—" "I'll handle the board," Olivia cut in. "Your father needs you more than the company does right now." "Thank you," May said, relief washing over her. "I've uploaded all the slides and my speaking notes to the shared drive. I know where to find everything. You've organized it meticulously, as always." There was a pause, then Olivia added, "There's something else. I've arranged for a home health care nurse to assist your father after he's discharged. Full-time for as long as needed. The company will cover it as part of your benefits package." May was stunned into silence. No such benefit existed in the company policy. This was Olivia making an exception, going out of her way to help. "That's incredibly generous," she finally managed. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll make sure he does his physical therapy. Recovery rates are 30% higher when patients adhere to the recommended exercises." So typically, Olivia, transforming a deeply personal gesture into a matter of statistics and efficiency. Yet May could hear the genuine concern beneath the businesslike exterior. "I will. Thank you, Olivia, truly. Get some rest. And May, when you have a moment, record something. On the piano. Send it to me. Music helps in times like these." The call ended before May could respond. She sat on the edge of her bed, phone still in hand, marveling at how drastically her relationship with Olivia had changed. From feared boss to, what, mentor? Friend? Something in between, perhaps. The next few weeks were a blur of hospital visits, work done remotely, and adjusting to the new routine once her father came home. True to her word, Olivia had arranged everything. A skilled nurse named Lisa who came daily, equipment to make their apartment more accessible, even grocery deliveries when May was too exhausted to shop. Through it all, music became May's sanctuary. Late at night, when her parents were asleep and the apartment was quiet, she would play her digital piano with headphones, losing herself in the familiar comfort of the keys. And yes, she recorded pieces for Olivia, sending audio files of Chopin nocturnes, Bach inventions, and Schubert impromptus. Olivia never commented on them directly, but occasionally she would reference a particular passage or technique in their conversations, letting May know she had listened. It was during one of these late-night sessions, a month after her father's surgery, that May received an unexpected text from Olivia. "Meet me at Steinway Hall tomorrow at 10 a.m. I have an idea I want to discuss with you." Steinway Hall was quiet when May arrived the next morning, the showroom just opening for the day. Grand pianos of various sizes gleamed under carefully positioned lighting, their polished surfaces reflecting the warm wood tones of the elegant space. A single sales associate nodded politely from behind a desk, seemingly expecting her. May checked her watch. Exactly 10 a.m. Olivia was normally early for everything, but there was no sign of her boss. She wandered among the instruments, occasionally running her fingers lightly across a fallboard or peering at price tags that made her wince. Even with her substantial raise, these magnificent instruments were well beyond her means. She was admiring a particularly beautiful Model B when she heard familiar footsteps behind her. "That one has excellent action," Olivia said by way of greeting. "Very responsive." May turned, surprised to see her boss dressed casually in dark jeans and a simple blouse rather than her usual designer suit. "Have you played it?" "I tried several when I came in last week." Olivia gestured toward a door at the back of the showroom. "Come with me. There's someone I'd like you to meet." Curious, May followed Olivia through the door into a small concert space with about 50 seats facing a stage, where a magnificent concert grand piano waited, its lid fully raised. An older man with silver hair and round glasses stood nearby, arranging sheet music on the piano's music rack. "May, this is Dr. Gregory Chen, head of the piano department at Manhattan School of Music. Greg, this is May Lin, the pianist I told you about." The professor extended his hand with a warm smile. "Ms. Thornton has spoken very highly of your playing, Ms. Lin. It's a pleasure to meet you." May shook his hand, bewildered. "Likewise, but I'm afraid I don't understand what this is about." Olivia motioned for May to sit on one of the plush chairs in the front row. "I've been doing some thinking over the past few months. About music, about second chances, about the things we set aside that deserve to be picked up again." She remained standing, pacing slightly as she spoke. "When I heard you play that first night at my apartment, something changed. For both of us, I think." May nodded, remembering how that moment had altered the course of her life. "Your playing has only improved since then," Olivia continued. "The recordings you've sent me while caring for your father, they're extraordinary, May. And they're being wasted on an audience of one." Dr. Chen stepped forward. "What Ms. Thornton is trying to say is that talent like yours deserves cultivation and a proper audience. She asked me to evaluate your playing and discuss possibilities for study." "Study?" May echoed, still confused. Olivia finally sat down beside her. "I'd like to sponsor you for the Artist Diploma program at Manhattan School of Music. It's a 2-year program for exceptional performers who show professional promise." May's mouth fell open. "But my job, my parents..." "You'd continue as Director of Client Relations with a modified schedule to accommodate classes and practice time," Olivia said. "As for your parents, the home health care arrangement would continue. Additionally, I've looked into a first-floor apartment in a building with elevator access, not far from your current place. More suitable for your father's condition. Dr. Chen smiled gently at May's shocked expression. Perhaps you'd like to play something for me now. I've heard your recordings, but there's nothing like hearing a pianist live. Still trying to process everything, May walked to the piano in a daze. The instrument was magnificent, a Steinway Model D concert grand, the same model as the one in Olivia's penthouse, but this one had been played, loved. Its voice developed through use rather than sitting silent as a status symbol. She sat at the bench, adjusted its height, and placed her hands on the keys. What should she play? Her mind raced through her repertoire before settling on Rachmaninoff's Prelude in G minor, a piece of power and passion that reflected the tumult of emotions she was feeling. As she began to play, the familiar focus descended. The confusion, the questions, the practical concerns, all faded away as her fingers found their purpose. The Steinway responded beautifully, its rich bass notes rumbling beneath the melodic line, the treble clear as bells. May lost herself in the music, barely aware of her audience until the final chords faded into silence. Dr. Chen was the first to speak. Miss Thornton wasn't exaggerating your abilities. That was remarkably assured playing for someone who took a 7-year hiatus. Indeed, came another voice from the back of the room. An elegant woman with silver-streaked hair had entered silently during May's performance. Technique can be taught, but that kind of musicality is innate. May, this is Victoria Powell, the dean of the music school, Olivia said. She's agreed to attend this unusual audition as a personal favor to me. Dean Powell approached the piano. We normally have a formal application process, but Ms. Thornton has been quite persuasive about your particular circumstances. Based on what I just heard, I'm inclined to make an exception. May looked from the dean to Dr. Chen to Olivia, still struggling to comprehend the opportunity being presented. This is incredibly generous, but I need to think about my family, my responsibilities. Your father was a musician too, wasn't he? Olivia interrupted gently. Before you were born? May nodded, surprised that Olivia remembered this detail from one of their conversations. He played violin in a regional orchestra in China. He gave it up to come to America, to give me better opportunities. Then he, more than anyone, would understand the importance of not letting talent go to waste. Dean Powell said, the artist diploma program is flexible. We've had students with families, with careers. It's demanding, certainly, but not impossible. May I have some time to think about it? May asked. To discuss it with my parents? Of course, Dr. Chen said. The spring semester begins in January. We would need your decision by early December. After the dean and professor excused themselves, May and Olivia were left alone in the small concert hall. May returned to the chair beside her boss, still processing everything. Why are you doing this? She finally asked. Olivia was quiet for a long moment. When I lost piano, I lost a piece of myself. I became harder. More driven in business, certainly, but also more isolated. Music connects people in a way nothing else does. She looked directly at May. I can't play anymore, not the way I once could, not at the level I would demand of myself. But I can make it possible for someone else to play, someone who deserves a second chance. I don't know what to say. Say you'll consider it. That's all I ask. That evening, May sat with her parents in their small living room, explaining the unexpected opportunity. Her mother listened quietly, while her father's eyes grew bright with unshed tears. This boss of yours, he said in Mandarin when May had finished. She understands what music means. She does, May agreed. In her own way. And she would help with an apartment with continuing care for me? His voice held a note of disbelief. Yes, she's changed, Baba. Or perhaps I'm seeing who she really is beneath the tough exterior. Her father reached for her hand with his good one. When you were a little girl, your hands were always moving, tapping rhythms on the table, playing invisible pianos in the air. Music was in you before you ever touched a real instrument. I knew then what you were meant to do. But our family, our needs, we came to America for you to have opportunities we couldn't have in China, her mother interjected. Not for you to give up your dreams for us. This is your second chance, her father said firmly. You must take it. 2 weeks later, May sat in Olivia's office, having just submitted her official acceptance to the artist diploma program. The school had been impressed enough with her audition to offer a partial scholarship, with Olivia covering the remainder of the tuition. It's done, May said. Classes start January 15th. Olivia nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. I've spoken with HR about your modified schedule. 3 days in the office, 2 days for classes and practice. Your salary remains the same. That's extremely generous. It's an investment, Olivia replied pragmatically. In 6 months, you've brought in 3 major new clients with your unique approach to relationships. The company benefits from your continued involvement. That was so typically Olivia, framing an act of kindness as a business decision. But May knew better now. She had seen beneath the armor to the woman who still felt the loss of her own musical dreams. There's something else, May said. The school is having a holiday recital next month. Current students and incoming ones for the spring semester. I've been asked to perform. She took a deep breath. I'd like you to come, as my guest. Something flickered in Olivia's eyes. Surprise, perhaps even a touch of emotion quickly controlled. I'm sure you'll have your parents there. You don't need your boss watching over your shoulder. I'm not inviting my boss, May said gently. I'm inviting the person who made this possible. The person who reminded me of who I am when I sit at a piano. She placed an embossed invitation on Olivia's desk. Please think about it. 6 weeks later, May stood backstage at the recital hall peering through the curtains at the gathering audience. Her parents were in the front row, her father in his wheelchair but sitting proudly erect, her mother beside him in a dress she had saved for special occasions. Several colleagues from work had come to support her, including David from Creative and Zoe from Design. There was no sign of Olivia. May tried not to feel disappointed. Her boss had been characteristically non-committal about attending, citing a potential conflict with an important client dinner. It was enough that she had made this opportunity possible. Expecting her to sit through a student recital was perhaps asking too much. When it was May's turn to perform, she walked onto the stage with confidence she hadn't felt in years. The piece she had chosen, Chopin's Ballad No. 1 in G minor, was challenging, passionate, and deeply personal. As she began to play, she poured everything into the music. The gratitude to her parents for their sacrifices, the joy of reconnecting with her true self, and yes, appreciation for the unlikely catalyst who had set it all in motion. Halfway through the piece, during a brief pause between phrases, May glanced up and saw a familiar figure slipping into a seat in the back row. Olivia had come after all, dressed elegantly but discreetly, her expression unreadable even from a distance. May smiled slightly and returned her focus to the music, playing now not just for herself or her family, but for the woman who had forced her to confront her, abandoned talent that night at the penthouse party, never imagining where that moment would lead for either of them. As the final chords of the ballade resounded through the hall, May felt a sense of completion. Not an ending, but rather a new beginning. A circle closed and another opened. A path resumed after a long detour. When she stood to acknowledge the applause, her eyes found Olivia in the back row. Her boss wasn't clapping, not visibly at least, but she offered something perhaps more meaningful. A small, genuine smile and a single, almost imperceptible nod of recognition. It was enough. More than enough. It was everything.